welcome back to another episode of the Flourish, We Grow Together podcast. I'm your host, Laura DiFrancesco, founder of Flourish, our beautiful co-working and event space here in Westchester, Pennsylvania, as well as Ethereal Farms, Dean Street Law, LD Brand, and a few other businesses. So a lot of the time, I get the question of, how is Flourish doing? Which is such a loaded question because it has been a challenging time for small businesses across the country, let alone in-person businesses. I started it January 1st of 2020. Boom, boom, boom. And we all know how challenging business was immediately after January 1st of 2020. So let's talk about Flourish. Let's go back a bit, see where it's been, what its idea was, and talk about where it's going, and just a little heart to heart about Flourish, because I always get the question, how's Flourish doing? And there's so much to unpack there. So let's chat about it. I was always planning on being an entrepreneur. Even in law school, before law school, I was always planning on being an entrepreneur. And one of the businesses that I wanted to start is the idea that Flourish evolved from, which is that I wanted to create a community space. I thought it'd be really fun to have art workshops where people could do activities and everything and gather and have events and whatnot. And so when I've talked about my entrepreneurial journey, when I'm talking about back in school, building my dream team before I ever had a team, I was building out Flourish in my mind, what it was then. Now, I still have a really special spot in my heart for that idea, and I won't go into too many details because I'd still like to eventually create that business, and I see how it can be done differently. But essentially, when I went through big law to become an attorney, to be an entrepreneur, I really wanted to meet other people in the community. I wanted to make friends. I wanted to meet like-minded individuals. I wanted to meet people who love things that are beautiful and aesthetic and special and different. And there was always something to me that's community driven that I always wanted to start. And so when I started my business, when I left big law, my idea was to start businesses. And the first thing that I wanted to do was to start writing books, because I wanted to share my journey of what I've learned, because I became a lawyer to be an entrepreneur. And there was so much lack of information from law to entrepreneur that I felt really called to share. And I still have that book that I wrote that I do eventually plan to finish. But shortly after that, I had a Fortune 500 client from Big Law approach me and say, we need you to help us. So I started a law firm and grew it very quickly. We were doing a lot of business. I had a team of 8. I was working out of my place in Westchester and immediately needed to start concepting what a physical space would look like. And so I didn't want something that felt like an office space. I wanted something that felt like home, and I had never been into a co-working space at all. And I came up with the idea from Flourish from the fact that I loved working from home. And this was pre-COVID, before it was normal for anybody to do that. I had had a period of time where I was able to work from home. Thank goodness, because my dog tore his ACL and he had to be in this tiny little area all day, and I had to rehab him from home. And I was very fortunate to be able to work from home for a short period of time. And I figured out how much I loved working from home. And it was what fueled me to create Flourish, a place that feels like home, but better, a place where you could create content, create community. And so that's where the idea all stemmed from. And so I started walking through this place in July of 2019 and concepting out what I wanted Flourish to be and what I kind of envisioned the space. And then by November, mid-November to late November, we started building out the space and really investing heavily into huge renovations to make it more sustainable, to make it beautiful, to decorate it with beautiful flowers and everything, and incredible decor from Anthropologie and World Market, and wonderful, beautiful pieces to make it feel like my home, but better. And then we had a couple networking events. I was really into Create and Cultivate and Girl Boss at that time, just a few places that made me feel like there was community for female entrepreneurs. And I really wanted to create those types of community here in Westchester. And so I started to create events that I was hosting for networking, and they really brought into those artsy sort of pieces that I love of my life and entrepreneurial journey, making crafts of holiday ornaments with other women in the community. And then I think there was maybe a networking hike that we did as well early on, all leading up to our grand opening. And our grand opening was my version of a women in business conference done my way. I think the first day had speakers and free headshots and floral workshops and pop-ups with local small businesses. And I think, the first day started with a dinner all about vision setting. That's right. The first day, I think, started with a dinner about vision setting in front of our wall. And then the second day was that big day. And then the last day was yoga and brunch. And it was this big 3-day launch. And it takes a lot for people to care about your small business and to care about your ideas. And I really learned that through Dean Street Law. And it's a hard lesson to learn, but people are busy in their world. They care about themselves. But I sent out personal invitations to thousands of people to be able to get 100 some people to our grand opening. And that's just the hustle that you have to do when you're opening a small business. And I hired 2 full-time team members on board to be able to be here every day and run the business, in addition to my whole team that I had for Dean Street Law. And it was envisioned that this would be our office space, but it would also be open to others. And that was, the vision that we wanted to bring to light with Flourish. And so we really did a ton of marketing and had a huge bang, a great start to the business. And then we all had to shut down in 2020. And it was the first week of March or so of 2020. So we were open for 2 months, and that's it. And we shut down. We were forcibly shut down for 4 months. We weren't able to do anything. So we launched the We Grow Together podcast. We launched an online course, 60 Days to Launch Your Business. We certainly kept ourselves busy. But in terms of taking a hit monetarily, it was insane. Our overhead was, I think Flourish alone was losing like $16,000 a month or something like that each month that we were closed and each month that we were in business. And it was absolutely brutal. I mean, I have videos of, trying to vlog through that time. I like to vlog a lot, and I was trying to vlog through that time, and it was hard. I was crying. I mean, it was like you didn't know what to do. And I don't even think that actually it wasn't even the shutdown that hurt me, because I have a lot of runway that I create to be able to maintain my businesses throughout financial storms, throughout COVID, throughout unexpected, right? That's part of being an entrepreneur, is knowing that what goes up must come down, and you have to be prepared for those downfalls. So I wasn't even emotional during COVID. I was saying, we're pivoting, we're getting online, we're getting to support people. I think a lot of people did that. I think the people that actually financially succeeded in those situations were exceedingly rare, but kudos to everybody who did. Flourish did not. Flourish did not succeed. Now, I do have a whole portfolio of companies, and so I'm able to weather storms like that, not only because I save, but also because I diversify my income, which we'll talk about in another episode for sure. But it was not easy getting through that period, but it was not as hard as when we came back after COVID. And finally, the restrictions were lifted sometime in September. So we were closed March, April, May, June. I think we were forcibly closed longer than that, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was in the summer, which would have been our very slow period anyways. But I think it was more September that we were able to be open and invite people back in. So that's a long storm to weather. And I kept every single one of my team members on full-time, part-time, whatever they were working. I kept them on 100%. And I was just weathering the storm, which is a really tough thing to do, because as an entrepreneur, as a leader, I feel personally responsible for the success of my team members. But I'm not going to lie, I held on way too long. That was one of my biggest mistakes. And it's hard because I'm very connected to my team members. But at the same time, the business was not making money and I felt personally responsible for them. But guess what? They would have actually made more money with all of the COVID benefits that had happened had I let them go sooner. And at a certain point, it's not a business owner's responsibility to financially weather everyone's storms just because they're an employer. And I think that's really hard, but it's something that you really have to come to terms with as an entrepreneur. Maybe some business owners don't care and they just lay everybody off. I kept everybody on for a full year of us losing like $16,000 a month. So obviously that was not the best decision, but it was this decision that I felt that I had to do to try to get us back. And it didn't hurt so much when we were forcibly closed that we had a really hard time making money because that was expected. It was really challenging that when it came to September and October and we were able to have people there, that no one wanted to support a small business and explore and go meet new people. And everybody was living in this phase of fear where they wanted to stay in their own space. And that lasted because we're in this interesting area where I think most people, if you went 30 minutes further out of the city into the rural areas, people don't care. They want to go out. They want to meet new people. But when you're in such a just generally liberal place like Westchester, there were a lot more people who were so much more conservative about COVID than others. And I think it's really important that we all have safety measures, but let's not forget the fact that every small business was just crushed by, not every small business, but most small businesses, especially in-person businesses, were absolutely demolished by the lack of people going out and about and exploring and meeting new places. And people just didn't want to hear about us back then. They didn't want to come to our events. They didn't want to explore a new place. They now had the right to work from home and the ability to work from home, but they had no desire to leave their house and they had no desire to spend their income going to events, going to network. It has taken years for people to start being ready to network again and spend their time and energy and resources doing that. And that's been really, really tough as a business owner to navigate because not only did we get hit with that, but then shortly after when things started rebounding, then you had office market crashed. And so then people were like, businesses were saying, okay, well, we didn't have to spend money on office space like we did. So we're pulling back out of office space, but we don't care about it enough to fund employees having office space. We just want everybody to work from home. And now they're back in the phase where they want everybody back in the office, but it's been quite a challenge to get people there. So office space has been all over the place. So a good idea, a good business ran well, doing the right things, marketed well, is just struggling. And it has been such a challenge to navigate because I think more than 50% of local co-working spaces have folded since the pandemic, which is really challenging in and of itself. And I'm really proud of us that we have been able to sustain, but it's not because we've been profitable. It has been because I have been able to sustain the storm despite everything that's going on. And it's not necessarily always understanding why you're not able to bounce back, because I think there's so much going on still in the world that's hard to explain, that's hard to understand. We can definitely do better in marketing. We could definitely do better in sales. There will always be an opportunity to do better for sure. But timing is a lot. Timing is so much. And, we've put a lot of marketing into Flourish and we have still struggled even after people were now able to go to events again. Guess what? People still have their bubbles and it's hard to get people out of those bubbles. It's hard to get them to try to go to events and want to do things. And people, I think, are just a lot more solo than they used to be. And they're a lot less community based. I think now that we're coming into like 5 years later, you're starting to see more people want community, more people want to go do things, more people want to interact and go to baby showers and bridal showers that aren't just at the house, but they're at somewhere pretty, or have a day out of the house from co-working at home and co-work somewhere else. So I do think we're seeing changes. I still don't know what I'm going to do with Flourish. I don't know if it's something that will continue to sustain forever or what level it's going to be, but I will say that I've had to have some major mindset shifts with respect to Flourish and what success means. Because sometimes it's fine just to break even. For a long time, I was like, okay, you know what? I've put so much time and energy into Flourish. I can't sustain this level of output with this lack of level of return, both from a monetary and energetic resources standpoint. So what am I going to do? When I was starting my business, I needed a place to create, a place that filled me from the inside out, somewhere that inspired me, helped me make content, a place where I could go to get good work done and host events, gather in community, celebrate one another, host family and friends for gatherings. So I created Flourish Coworking Space in Westchester, Pennsylvania. It's a space that nourishes you from the inside out. It's lush, inspiring environment with hundreds of plants to make you feel like your best self so that you can do your best work and gather in community in a way that's casual, inviting, and just incredible. I hope you check it out. If you need a co-working or event space in Westchester, PA, be sure to visit us and book your co-working or event today. It's easy when you have a portfolio or a client base or whatever it is, when something is constantly not working, to just always put your time and energy and resources there. And you pour energy and resources into what's not working instead of focusing on what's working. And so what I did was, I think a couple of years ago, I said, okay, Flourish has taken a lot from me. I have dedicated so much to it, from time to finances to ideas, everything that I can do. I'm going to give it a break. And I'm going to say, look, Flourish, you are my office space and I enjoy working here. I enjoy having my team here, and that's enough for me. It's essentially an expense that I would have anyways. So as long as you lose no more than $2,000 to $3,000 a month, we're okay there. That is fine. And then I said, I got through that phase where I needed to just have a break from Flourish, have a break from the ideas, have a break from the challenge, the struggle, the constantly trying something and something not working out. And I needed a break from that. And then I had that break. And now into 2024, into 2025, I've built a team back up. I'm putting resources to it, trying to build it back up, and actually focusing on it being a part of the revenue generating side of the portfolio, which is the goal. Ultimately, I want this to be successful. I have a lot of visions of what I've always wanted it to be. I am going to keep those in my heart, what I still want to do with Flourish going forward, because a lot of it's frankly unknown. It's all dependent on how it goes from here. And in the middle also of this whole journey, not only did we go through a pandemic and a office space crash, not only did we go through all of that, I also moved almost an hour away. So in 2021, I sold my house in Westchester, which was 8 minutes from here. That's why I started it here. This is why I love it. But I do love the town of Westchester. And then shortly after that, I purchased a farm considerably far away, 50 minutes away, basically. So my commute is now 50 minutes each way every day. So I also went through a phase of coming into the office 5 days a week and that not being sustainable, and then 4, and then 3, and then 2, and then I had my car accident that I was in. Oh my gosh, if you think about this journey that I've been on, it's no wonder that Flourish has struggled the way it has. But I was in a car accident and not able to come into the office for months because of that. So then I went to 0, and then now I'm trying to get back in the office, get our team back in the office, and just be here and do what I can and build it and do what I can to build it. I have so many visions and ideas of what it can be for the future. I still have that idea of what I wanted it to be before, But I think it's just to say that there are journeys that are long and there is definitions of success. And by a lot of people's definitions, I have failed utterly with Flourish. And every single person along the way, along the journey, especially my friends and family, have told me to shut down Flourish, to close down Flourish, that it isn't it. But there's a part of me that's really held on, and I can't figure out whether that's hubris or my ego or what it is, why I hold on. I just have never felt right to give up. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's me thinking that I need to prove myself. I don't think it is, because I've closed out a lot of ideas that I've done in the past and not liked. I've reinvented them. And I just really like the idea of Flourish. I like the idea that people can come here to co-work. They can come here to have events. We have seen a big uptick since I revitalized things in people having events and doing everything here. It's amazing how much a business can thrive more when I have someone who's able to answer the phones and emails when I'm incapacitated or not able to. So, it's been a journey, me and Flourish. We've been on a journey. I do hope that it gets better from here. I hope that this place does actually end up flourishing. That would be incredible. I have found a few ideas that feel really good to me. I don't have the capacity right now to host events with my brain injuries. And so we are inviting female entrepreneurs to host events here in our stead and use it more of a collaboration opportunity. So I hope that it continues to thrive and grow and come around, but I feel like we needed a little heart to heart. Flourish is my heart. It's one of my favorite businesses that I've built, but it has been struggle bus city since March of 2020. And it's been through its ups and downs, but I just don't think that that should define you or get you down or make you feel any sort of way. It doesn't mean that I'm bad at business. I do honestly like the challenge that it provides, because I feel like it has made all of my businesses so much better, incredibly better. I've learned so much from Flourish, just like I learned so much from my hardest times in life. But it has been a challenge. It has been a struggle. It's been something that's pushed me to be creative and innovative and resilient and be able to weather the storm. And it's taught me a lot of lessons. So no matter where it goes from here, I know that it's been a good part of my journey, and I hope that it continues to be an amazing part of everybody's journey, whatever form it is, because it has a really special spot in my heart. But it's neither, in my opinion, tremendously successful or a huge failure. It is what it is. Flourish is what it is. And it's so hard to explain to others, because how are you going to say this 20-minute explanation in 2 seconds? But I'm really proud of where we've come. While so many businesses have folded, we are still here, whether that's because of my sheer stupidity or my sheer will to survive. We are still here. There's a lot of people who would have folded the towel, who tell me to fold the towel, but then also want to invest in businesses that are almost exactly like Flourish. It's crazy. So there is nothing that I can necessarily share, I feel like, to sum it up in a sentence. It is a journey that we've been on, truly, and a journey that we will continue to go on. I'll keep you updated as we progress, but I felt like it was time to have a little heart-to-heart about Flourish. It means a lot to me. I know that it means a lot to people in the community. And something that I love is that it attracts people. It attracts people who are like-minded. It's community-driven. And let's face it, it's a lot more fun for people to talk about and interact with than things like Dean Street Law. So it's wildly different seeing how a boring business like Dean Street Law markets and grows and changes, whereas a business that's more interactive and interesting like Flourish has its own set of challenges uniquely, but is more marketable and interesting to others. It's always so interesting to see that dynamic of a boring business that does well versus an interesting business that struggles. But it is what it is. Here we are at Flourish. I love it. It means the world to me. I hope that you check it out if you haven't checked out one of our events. We have a whole bunch that we're planning on sharing over the next couple of weeks and months. So check out our Flourish Westchester Instagram, subscribe to our newsletter, support us. If you have a small business yourself and you want to share your story, I'd love to hear it on my latest Instagram at Laura M. DiFrancesco at Flourish Westchester. If you want to support a small business, it is literally as simple as liking, sharing to your stories, tagging a friend, talking about it, leaving a Google review. If you love Flourish and want to support us, leave a Google review. Leave us a 5-star review. Leave us a 5-star review on our podcast. Subscribe. Those little actions, I can't even express to you, mean the world to us. So if you could do that, it would mean the world to me. Huge thank you to you guys for supporting us, for supporting Flourish, for supporting the We Grow Together podcast. It came out of a really hard time, but I think it's made its way into a really successful integration into others' lives. So thank you so much for joining me in this episode of the We Grow Together podcast. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the We Grow Together podcast. Cheers.